Hey everybody, one more quick video. Trying to kind of collect thoughts from the last couple of weeks and sort of synthesize them together so that we know where we've been and where we're going. So just to make sure that you understand what's going on, you need this book, Invisible Hands, Voices from the Global Economy. This book is going to be what we're reading over the next few weeks. If you don't have it, you need to order it soon. It is a required text and was on the syllabus as such. So make sure you've got it. Another thing to think about too is that we're going to be kind of bouncing back and forth between issues of economic displacement and issues of human displacement related to refugees. So what I'd like you to start thinking about is this idea of empathizing with people and how you may not have the power at the moment to empathize with people around the world or coming from a different culture or a different country because you don't know how to relate to them. But I think this Invisible Hands book will sort of give you a glimpse into some other people's lives around the world and situations that they're facing. So I think it's a really good empathy builder. Which I think is the key to being able to look at the idea of thinking globally and acting locally. Another thing that I'd like to talk about moving forward is that I want to get some of your feedback about how the class is going. I've got a few emails from some people about feeling a little bit like they're falling behind and stuff, so I tried to trim out a few things for this week, and I'll try to streamline some things for next week as well, because there's quite a bit of stuff due this week, especially if you have not already started working on the Code of Ethics analysis essay. We have a draft of that due. Get as much done as you can by Friday and post it. I'm looking for hopefully about 3 pages to give you some good feedback about. So the better the draft is, the better feedback I can give you. And I'll work on that feedback for a while, right? I'll be working on feedback for the proposals, for the civic engagement proposals, and then for this essay over the next couple of weeks. It does take quite a bit of time to get through all that, so please be patient and let me know if you have any specific questions. One more thing that I'd like to talk about is just a little bit more about that idea of dominance and subordinance. And one of the things that came out in the discussion board was somebody mentioned the idea of, it's not my fault, I'm dominant. And I think that's the point, right? It's not your fault that you were born into a certain circumstance, right? You are dominant or subordinate through no fault of your own. It's based on a power structure that existed prior to your birth. The idea is, what are you going to do about it? Are you just going to, if you're privileged, just keep ignoring the fact that, things might be a little bit easier for you and who cares about other people? Or are you going to start trying to answer some tough questions about the fact that society may have been structured in a way that favors you? That's the process that I've been going through for quite some time now as I've been studying this, is looking at, okay, as a white male American Christian able-bodied person, what advantages have I had as a result of that, or what privileges have I had? So privilege is not something that adds to who you are, makes life any easier necessarily. If privilege is our baseline, the idea is that subordinates makes it harder for other people, right? If you start adding up those social identities. Some people were a little annoyed by the idea of all the labels that Kirk and Okazawa Ray used. And the idea is not that they are labeling those people. The idea is that they are looking at what exists and trying to find a way to describe it. Some people were pretty ticked off about Kirk and Okazawa Ray and the way that they described things and saying that, labeling's not the way to go and stereotyping's not the way to go, and these people are promoting it. And that's actually a pretty severe misunderstanding of the article, which is meant to show, hey, how do we start critically examining these advantages and try to make them available to everybody and to really strive for equality. They're just trying to describe a system of inequality so that we can clearly identify where those inequalities are and start trying to work on them. So it's a very positive article in that way, even though it's dealing with some pretty negative things that have happened in the past. And then some other people also mentioned some things about, why is this temporary ban that was instituted by Donald Trump a potential problem? And I've just got a couple quick answers to that. One is that it did deny constitutional rights to green card holders and a couple of other classes of legal immigrants to the United States. So that was one of the problems. They could have probably written the executive order a little bit better to prevent green card holders from being detained. So that was one of the problems. And another one is that there's language in there about religious preference for certain people, which would actually be unconstitutional based on the Establishment Clause in the First Amendment. And so that's what people are pretty fired up about. I think there's a couple things that are very true about this issue. Another thing that was a problem was that he lumped refugees and immigrants into the same category, when refugees is a different legal status. They're people who've been invited into the country and are on their pathway to citizenship. And the process for those people has been very stringent and has been quite effective over the past 30 or 40, about 36 years since 1980, when the modern version of it was instituted, and it keeps getting better every year. So there were some distinctions that caused problems for certain people and denied them access to a place that they had rights to be. Now, is it a problem to try to revamp a system, to try to make it better? No, of course not. If that's the true goal of the ban, then that's a good thing, right? To look at it. But there was no reason to stop the refugee resettlement process, because those people are already significantly highly vetted. And we'll start to parse those things to see why the judge's opinions were upheld in order to stop the ban. And we'll talk more deeply about that in the future as more stuff arises. All right, that's all I have to say, which was quite a bit, because I'm trying to sum up this sort of transitional period between the different units that we're in, and to get you started on the right foot. So, talk to you later.